And welcome to the channel, everybody. Tonight, I wanted to talk about the top 5 gameplay mechanics strikers must fix for UFL in this new update. Now, each of these 5 things should have been fixed on day 1. Probably the game shouldn't have been released until these 5 things were at least sharpened up a lot more than how they are in game. Now, we've gone through several patches, and many of them, if not all of them, haven't even been touched. There might have been slight improvements, but not good enough. So, I do have some information regarding this testing that's going on. However, I absolutely cannot share it for the sake of others because there's not supposed to be any type of leaks, and I'm not going to put anybody at risk with that. And my goal wasn't to find out the information to go make some videos anyway. I just want to get an idea if I will be playing UFL in the future or not. I'd really like to, but, I really don't know right now. So, let's just, for now, go over what needs to be addressed. That way, right when this patch comes out, we can look for these 5 things in particular, on top of a lot of others, but I wanted to nail it down to the 5 biggest gameplay mechanics, because if they do fix these things, it will at least give you a much better experience in game. So, number 1, ground through balls. This is, as I've said many times, one of, if not the most important pass in football gaming. In real life too, but in football gaming in particular, this is a key way many goals are created, and for some reason, strikers cannot get it figured out with UFL. One through ball will be absolutely perfect, and then the next 5 you play the same way, and they go all over the place. The next through ball, you'll wait perfectly, and then you play 5 more in that same way, and they go 10 yards out of bounds, 20 yards out of bounds, and there's just no rhyme or reason for why they are so out of whack. So strikers needs to dial that in so that the ground through ball works. It will make a much more fluid, much more fun attacking experience for the players. Number 2, fluidity and animations on defense. So what I'm talking about is the fact that when you are defending, it is very hard movement-wise to keep up with the attacker. That's why you get that movement where the attacker essentially just cuts left, right, cuts left, cuts right, until they eventually dribble around the defender. Now, even when you're using jockey, the fluidity isn't good enough, and there's no animation to sort of tussle with the attacker. So not only is this not realistic, but it makes it very one-dimensional defending. You're either going to run right through the player with the ball and win it, or you're going to get burned. There's no 50-50 type of battles. There's no close calls where the attacker just ekes out, beating the defender. The defender just barely wins the ball and pushes it away. And it's the same thing for blocking shots. Because of the lack of fluidity, there is no getting in the way of shots and blocking a shot. It's sort of just, if a player shoots it at a defender, it'll hit off the defender. Not even really an animation or an actual block shot. It's just sort of hits the player, rolls some weird direction. It doesn't look realistic at all, and it takes away ability to have skill gap defensively because there is no fluidity on the defensive side. Like I said, you either run through the attacker or the attacker blows by you. They need to fix that defensively. It will make for a more realistic experience and create more of a skill gap. Now, number 3, moving on to a similar but different position topic, fluidity and animations with goalkeeping. Even when the goalkeeper drops the ball, it's just totally messed up. It makes this weird animation where you can't even do it when an attacker's around. Like, for instance, in FC, you can drop the ball with the goalkeeper. It will be realistic. The keeper will take a touch and then play it to a wingback or something like that. You try to drop it, it's the most unrealistic looking, clunky thing ever with the goalkeeper. And if attacker is anywhere near the goalie, he's going to steal it and score. So it's the same thing with animations as well. Many times the shot will hit the goalie. The goalie won't make a save. It will literally hit the goalie and just go flying away in some random unrealistic direction because the goalies are lacking animation and lacking fluidity as far as how they play. Even when they come out and go after the ball, it's very rigid. It's very, I guess you could say, outdated looking. Before there was the ability to make these goalkeepers have realistic animations, that's what the UFL keepers look and act like in game. And it's very similar to the defensive animations and with their lack of fluidity. The next thing is the passing target lock, right? And what I mean is you win the ball defensively, right? And you randomly pass it out the field. Notice how every time it locks onto one of your players and they receive the ball. This takes away from the realism in football as well as the skill gap, because you literally don't have to have any type of rhyme or reason, any type of understanding of passing attributes with the player you're passing with, because they will make the perfect pass right to the player. The same goes with crosses. It locks onto the receiving player. And instead, strikers needs to add in more dynamic passing, where you actually have to have skill in the weight you put on the pass, right? And the direction that you pass. Yes, if you just want to clear the ball, go ahead and clear it. You can absolutely add that in there. But as far as winning the ball defensively and just being able to press square or press X and it's going to lock onto a player up the field, that's got to go. Same with any type of crossing. The attributes are thrown out the window. It takes away from the passing. In a football game where passing is not important, right? Because of the fact that you have a lock-on system for your passing, that is not a good football game. There needs to be diversity within the passes based on the weight of the pass and the type of the pass chosen. Every square cross shouldn't just go right to the player's head in the same way, or right to the player's chest in the same way, or lock onto the player directly at his feet the same way. There needs to be differences based on the weight of the pass, based on the attributes of the player passing the ball, and that will create, again, just like you see the theme of this, not only more realism, closer to real football, right? Closer to being a true football simulator, but also it will create a skill gap. And number 5, they have to remove the fake shot receiving of a pass. It is totally unrealistic and it is a complete glitch. If you watch why the player is able to move so fluidly and why it's so OP to receive every pass with a fake shot, it's because the player literally floats or almost looks like he's teleporting into the direction that you press as you fake shot receive the ball, and it needs to be removed from the game. There needs to be realistic turns outside of the foot, inside of the foot, right? Holding the ball off in a realistic way. Every player just fake shot receives it and floats into the direction they want to run, and that right there, receiving every pass like that, already takes away from your game big time. It is not realistic, and it makes it too easy for players to get away with having to think about the direction they're going to go when they receive the ball. Think about having a passing decision already made before they receive it. It almost gives them a get out of jail free card. And then think about the highlights. Every time a player is receiving the ball, they're literally floating or teleporting, glitching in your game. It's just not a good look. It's not realistic at all. And once again, takes away from the skill gap, which is the common theme across all of these gameplay mechanics that need to be fixed. The reason the game was well received when it first came out is because of the manual defense, the great spacing, and it allowed you to use your skill to create good build-up, find the areas where you could pass through an opponent and create goals. And then if you wanted to defend and not give up goals, you had to manually select a defender and block off passing lanes, block off dribbling lanes. And so even though you had some of these clunky mechanics, the players were willing to ignore that because they could actually play football and use any type of tactics they wanted as long as they operated that formation or those tactics accurately. So now that there's broken defense, the spacing's all messed up. Many players don't even use their defenders. They just control midfielders and then hold down their AI assistants to either steal the ball or just let the opponent shoot into the blockade their defenders create because of the bad spacing. And so these bad gameplay mechanics, they stick out like a sore thumb now. Which leaves us with the fact that you must fix defensive spacing and defense in general. Bring it closer to what you had at the beginning. That is a must fix. That's why I didn't even include it on these 5 gameplay mechanics in the list. It is a must fix. It's a prerequisite. Then you get into these 5 gameplay mechanics and you're on the right path. Let me know if you agree, disagree, if there's any gameplay mechanics that you think need to be fixed that I didn't add, and we will keep waiting and see what happens. Continue to grind, continue to have fun. I will see you on the next one. Peace.